Hey guys, we're back. This time we're going to be taking a look at Ascension, Chronicles of a Godslayer. And I've had this one in my collection for years. I don't know why I never did a video of it, but it's a deck building game set in an interesting universe they built for the thing, where you're basically raising yourself an army to fight against a demonic threat that's attacking your home, and you build up machines and heroes and things to fight against it. Anyway, we're going to get right in and take a look. So first off, we have our rulebook here, and this is for the second edition. I don't know if there's any major changes in this. I know the third edition now has different artwork. They changed it up in future printings of the expansions, and they're trying to match everything up. But nice contents list that tells you exactly how many cards of everything are in the box set. Down here is how many honor gems to use depending on your player count. It's funny, they give you the suggested setup of laying out the cards, but then the game actually comes with a board that tells you where all that goes. I don't know if that was something they changed at one point. I never actually saw the first edition. But they have the anatomy of a card, what everything is. Basically you have the price up here. This is what you got to pay to acquire this, to add it to your team. The type here, this is what it does. And then down the bottom corner there is how many points you get at the end of the game for it. And they have all the different kinds. There's constructs, monsters, goes through the gameplay. I think, yeah, there's a few variants in the back. The solo one is interesting. I didn't even know that was there. I discovered it recently. And then a glossary of terms. Timing chart comes in handy. Whenever you get somebody who argues over what order something should trigger, they have a nice timing chart in the back. Onto the box, we have the actual game board. And like I said, the board here actually has layout spots for all the different decks you're going to have. The mystics and heavy infantry that are always available you can buy to add to your deck. The cultist is a monster that's always there you can fight. And you're going to have a deck here of cards that you're going to be drawing to figure out what goes in these 6 slots in the middle. This center row in the middle is the things that are available currently to either fight or buy for your forces. And the void is basically the graveyard, but that's where things get exiled to. And then there's the turn order steps right here. It's on both sides of the board, which is nice. Here's your heavy infantry and mystics, which go out here. And there's your cultist. Basically a monster you can always ping for 1 point if you have any extra power left over. Then each player is going to have their own starting deck here, and they're all the same. You get 8 apprentices and 2 militia. And then these aren't actually worth anything, so throughout the course of the game, you basically, once you've replaced these with better things, you want to exile these out of the game so that you're not drawing these. They basically take up space where you could be drawing something better. In the very least, the heavy infantry and the mystics are an improvement in every way over them. You get 2 instead of 1. They're worth a point at the end. And you get enough of these starter decks in the box set here for 4 players. The game says with expansions you can support up to 6, but I've never seen a reason why you couldn't go more than 6 players other than the downtime between turns. Then we have our deck here, and this is where you're going to draw various constructs here. So these, once a construct is played, it actually stays in play until something removes it, and then every turn for this one you're going to gain an extra power. Then you have heroes. these get shuffled into your, all of these get shuffled back into your deck like normal, but when these come out and play, they basically work just like the other cards there, except that in this case you gain 2 power for it, and then you can banish a card in your hand or discard pile, which is how you get rid of these starter cards out of there to make room for the better ones. And there's a ton of different hero types and construct types. Then we get into monsters. The monsters up here, this is how much power it's going to take to defeat that card. And at the bottom is your rewards. In this you gain 4 honor, and then you can banish a card in the center row and or a card in your discard pile. Again, that's how you get rid of those cards you don't want out of your deck. All the monsters have various effects that do different things. Some are helpful to you, others are beneficial or detrimental to others. So in this case you gain 3 honor, and then each of your opponents has to destroy one of their constructs. Destroy actually sends it to your discard pile, which eventually gets shuffled back into your deck. So the way these work is you're going to have 6 cards laid out here. And you're going to have your starter deck. And you're going to shuffle these up. You have the 2 militiamen in there and the 8 apprentices to start with. So you're going to shuffle these up, and then you're going to draw 5 cards at the beginning of the game. And you're going to look. So we have 1 power, which isn't enough to do anything. It takes at least 2 to kill the cultist, 3 for each of these, 4 for him. So that's kind of useless to us. But we have 4 apprentices, which we can use to take one of these. So we're going to play our 4 apprentices. They go to our discard pile. We're going to take this guy. He goes to our discard pile. This gets replenished with a new monster. And then we really can't do anything with him, so we're going to discard him. At the end of our turn, we're going to redraw back up to 5 cards in our hand. And play continues. So eventually you're going to add up more cards as you buy them into your discard pile. So our next turn we still have 1 power, which we can't do anything with. We do have 4 apprentices again. We'll play them. We'll take him. Now we have nothing to draw at the end of our turn, so we're going to shuffle all these together. All our new cards as well. And draw back up to 5. And we even got our new guy here who can be played to defeat a monster with 4 power or less without paying the cost. So we could use him to kill any of these guys or the cultist. Not this guy because he's a 6. But that's nice. You can play him straight out. There's even ones that let you play and acquire other heroes on the board, which are nicer. That's a construct. But that's pretty much how the game works. And then play continues just like that around until a preset number of honor have been collected. It's determined at the beginning of the game based on the number of players. These little white ones are worth 1. The big red ones are worth 5. So you set out a predetermined amount at the beginning of the game. And when the last player takes the last one from here, you finish out the turn. And that gives everybody an equal number of turns, and then the game ends. When the game ends, you're going to take all of the honor that you've collected and add it up. Then you're going to take your deck and add up all the honor on all of the cards that you have collected. So in this case, we've only picked up these 2 guys. So we're going to total their 6 plus whatever honor we picked up from things we've destroyed or cards, various cards that give you honor. Like this construct here gives you 1 power every turn, and the first time you defeat a monster in the center row each turn, you're going to gain an additional honor. Lots of different ways to gather honor up. Killing the cultist gets you 1 every time. Any monster pretty much gives you at least 1 honor. Most give you something else as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a very simple game. easy to learn, easy to teach people, which is nice. And because of the fact that it's random what cards come out here and what's available, every game ends up being a little bit different. The real neat thing is to build up a nice combo of constructs. So for example, you could get the Grand Design here, which once per turn, once it's in play, will gain you 2 runes, and you can only spend those to acquire other Mechana constructs. So you have that in play. Let's say you have this card in your hand, the Burrower Mark II, and it says once per turn when you put a Mechana construct into play, including this one, draw a card. So you play this, and then you get to draw a card on top of that. And then it combos with this one here. If once per turn, when you acquire another Mechana construct, you may put it directly into play. So if you have this in play, you have these 2 in play, you use the 2 extra runes you get from that to buy this, which only costs 3, so now it only costs you 1. You put it into play. Now, because this one allows you to put it directly into play, now this one triggers, you get to draw the card, and so on. You can build up big combos of different constructs to do different things and get you, by the end, you can be drawing 10 cards a turn and playing different things and exiling things and banishing stuff from the row. And it becomes a real complex engine that you could build up. If I had one complaint about the base game here, is that it heavily favors the Mechana, how do you pronounce that? But it heavily favors that faction. There's different factions, like this one here is Void. There's also Enlightened, which we had here, and Lifebound. They do balance it out more in later expansions and things, but that's something to keep in mind. Also, it seems in some sets, this one is one of them, where you can't tell by the way the board's laid out, but there seems to be an exceptionally high amount of heroes and constructs versus actual monsters. So what will happen is the entire board at some point will come out where it's all things you have to pay runes for, which is fine. But if you're building yourself a heavy combat deck with lots of power, and suddenly there's nothing to spend it on, you spend a lot of time wasting turns just fighting the cultist, which still gets you honor, but at the same time you're not gaining anything for your deck. Alternatively, you can have the opposite happen. It's very rare, where every location out here is a creature. And if you spent the entire game building up cards to boost your runes so that you can buy the really big, cool, expensive constructs and heroes, and suddenly there's nothing to spend it on. That can get annoying too. And then you've always got these over here you can buy, but eventually they even water down your deck, because who wants to draw a +2 power when you can draw something that's an automatic kill of something with 4 less power, or there's constructs that give you +3. Here's a defeat a monster that has 6 or less without paying its cost. So having a +2 to one or the other is a good thing at the beginning of the game, but not so much later on. So you want to avoid building up your deck to heavy favor either way or the other. But in this base set, I think there are more heroes and constructs than there are monsters, so keep that in mind. Thankfully, there's cards that allow you to banish cards from the center row, so you would remove them, put them in the void, and then replace them with new stuff. So you have chances of drawing other cards to replace those and cycle them out. Overall, though, it's a really fun game, and I like the concept of it. I like how simple it is to play, and I like the deck building. This was actually the first deck builder I ever got introduced into years ago, and it prompted me to actually go out and buy it. And I've had a lot of fun with it since, and they've released, I think they're on like 10 or 11 expansions now. Every other box, the way they do it is a full-size box like this, suitable for 4 players, comes with a board. And then the other ones in between are a smaller box. They don't have a board. They come with half as many of the honor gems and are only designed for a 2-player. That way you can combine them and you get your 6 players. Or you can mix and match any sets that are out there and build up kind of a custom deck the way you want it. I've seen some people play with like 5 expansions where this deck is, you know, a foot tall. And each one after the first adds a small new rule or ability or some kind of feature to the game. So you can pick and choose which ones you mix to which ones you want to add to your game as well. Overall though, it's a fun game, and if you're interested in a easy to play deck builder that has lots of room for expansion, check out Ascension, Chronicle of a Godslayer. They also have this as a core set without the tagline under here, and that's just the base. It's the same game. They just for some reason took that tagline off of there. All of the other expansions though do have some kind of tagline, so either it'll either have this or nothing to be the base original game, and then from there on there's tons of different ones that all expand onto it. As I said, most of them have enough for a core, all the big boxes anyway have enough for a core 4-player game, so it doesn't really even matter where you start. This one just has the most basic rules to it and none of the special add-on things that came later. And as I was putting things away here, it occurred to me I don't think I ever showed the actual insert, which is really nice for this. And you got room in here for plenty of cards, and they'll fit in here sleeve too, as long as you have smaller sleeves, the real tight fit ones. You have little slots in here for the player decks, and then there's an extra slot here for either another player deck, or I put the coldest in there. And then you have these 2 spots over here, which I just use to keep the honor gems in. I think these decks fit in there unsleeved. I think that's where they came. Oh, maybe not. I don't remember. It's been a while. But yeah, everything fits in here nice. Room for extra cards too if you want to expand. I think some of the later expansions have 6 spots in here for your 6-player deck. But again, they only come with the 4. And then the board fits in the little slot like that. Like so. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for our look at Ascension, Chronicles of a Godslayer. As always, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.